Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to talking about the Mueller report that's finally being revealed to the public, at least partially. The full report is still forthcoming though, set to be fully released in a few days, but there was some interesting announcements about it already, which all but clear the president and his camp from the supposed Russia collusion that was being investigated surrounding the 2016 election. That shit didn't happen. You see, for those who don't know, Robert Mueller has been investigating President Trump for about 2 years now. He has still not been able to prove that there was any Russian collusion in our election in 2016 whatsoever. That's why a few days ago, Mueller announced there would be no more indictments related to this case. Russiagate has fizzled out, and Mueller has failed. And no more indictments? Well, that means no one else will be charged with crimes here. So basically, Trump is free and clear. We can rest easy now, people. And while some Democrats are trying to hold out for the full report, I say it matters very little what's in that, since no one else is getting charged here. And this sudden realization that the Russia collusion narrative was false is really hitting many of the lefties hard, who were pushing this whole conspiracy from day one. And one news anchor in particular, Rachel Maddow, well, she was about to break down and cry on air on her show last Friday. All of her hopes and dreams are falling apart here, clearly. It's like Rachel just found out the tooth fairy isn't real, because Russia collusion, well, that's about as realistic as a small fairy collecting children's teeth and leaving money for them. In fact, things are getting so bad for the Democrats, they're trying to take down and ban accounts who are posting stuff about this issue. Here's a tweet from Jack Posobiec about this censorship, and beneath it, he reposted the video that Twitter was trying to hide, which showed Rachel Maddow was crying. Go ahead and take a look at a brief clip for yourself.
To do that Bill Barr stopped Mueller from doing. And that's fascinating, because everybody would like to do that from Robert Mueller, as well as from Bill Barr.
And well, actually, now that I think about it, I probably shouldn't be playing too much of this original video. My channel could get dinged for it easily. To summarize it though, basically it's a close-up of Rachel Maddow during her latest show, and you could clearly see her eyes are watering up the whole time too. And meanwhile, someone is laughing at her in the background while watching this video. Pretty hilarious and deserved even. Rachel is a grown-ass woman who's crying on her own TV show again. Yes, this isn't the first time she pulled this whole woe is me crap, playing the victimhood card and kind of being a weak girl. No, last time Rachel did this was last summer in June, and it was over that bullshit child separation narrative going on at the time. I have a link to my last video about Maddow crying below, but basically what happened was she was trying to push out some tears in order to get sympathy for her liberal side. And this is a little different than the crying now too, because, well, today I'm assuming that Rachel might just be tearing up on her own because she's about to break down since this whole Russia collusion narrative has fallen apart. Not to mention, Rachel is one of the biggest pushers of this false narrative, so she's probably about to cry because it makes her look like a pretty shitty reporter, which is fitting of course because she really is. And as if this didn't already look bad enough, actually watching some of Rachel's show from that night makes her reaction to Mueller's report look even worse. Let's take a look at a few clips from Maddow's show from Friday night and you can see what I'm talking about. Check this out.
I will tell you what Chris is referring to is that a couple of hours ago, maybe even less than that, I was standing knee-deep in a trout stream in Tennessee. But now it's Mueller time.
Okay, so right out the gate, Rachel is sounding crazy. She's making weird faces and pushing out these awkward, forced laughs. Even calling this Mueller time, a joke on the ad campaign Miller time, about the Milwaukee-made beer, of course. And while I like to drink that beer sometimes, and I appreciate the sentiment, it really comes off as a forced and cringy joke here. Rachel is clearly trying to cut this tension and awkwardness with some laughs and jokes here, but it's too transparent and off-putting to really work. And then there's the bit about her walking away from a trout fishing trip in the middle of her vacation, and that move seems a little suspect to me. Whether it was MSNBC calling her in or Rachel wanted to come in on her own accord, either way seems like damage control to me. They all know Maddow has been pushing this Russia collusion myth for years now, so now that we know it's officially bunk, these liberal shills are rushing to their cameras to try and spin this in the direction and see if they can save face. Gonna need a lot of wind, like the strength of 10 hurricanes, to spin this back in your favor though. But I guess all MSNBC and Rachel can do now is try their best. I definitely don't think her leaving her vacation was wholly necessary though. Could have easily caught up on this on Monday's show, but as I said before, Rachel is really caught up in this lie, and she and her company know that the longer they wait to respond, the worse they will look publicly, if it's even possible for them to look worse than they do now.
That's the part that is going to determine whether we figure this thing out as a country, whether we, the country, are ever fully told what Robert Mueller really figured out about Russia messing with our election to try to elect Donald Trump president, and whether Trump and his campaign were in on that.
Damn, this chick is still in the denial phase hardcore. That's why she's acting so erratic, odd, and unhinged. Rachel still can't believe that Trump is innocent here. Perhaps because she doesn't want to believe it because she's so biased and out of touch. Maddow still can't believe Trump won 2 years ago. And it sounds a little crazy, but these kinds of pundits don't really get out of their liberal bubbles much. Sure, Rach may pretend she's down to earth by going on fishing trips, but that's just a fake story and a fake trip she made happen so she could sound down to earth. It's not genuine at all. And as for finding out what's all inside that report, well, Rachel is making this sound way more important than it really is. She's even trying to spin this as a shady tactic to hide what's in the report from the public. No, reports stay confidential like this all the time. All the public really needs to know is who gets indicted, arrested, punished, or jailed for the investigation. And since the answers to that are no one, then we already know what we need to know. We already know there was no Russia collusion in the 2016 election, but Rachel here, she just can't handle the truth.
Right. There has never before been a president, there's never been not since the 1700s has there been a high-ranking government official who was investigated for potentially being in the thrall of a foreign power. It's certainly never happened to a president.
So what, Rachel? If Trump was convicted and proven to be colluding, then maybe you would have a point here, but someone getting investigated does not make them guilty. Not to mention, every president since Nixon has been under investigations for something or the other. Sometimes things are true, but oftentimes they're not. So let's not pretend Trump is the first president to get investigated, which is what Rachel is trying to imply here. And also, in this day and age, with how polarized and cutthroat American politics are, more and more lies and bogus witch hunts and investigations with bias are taking place day after day. So quit trying to hype up a failed investigation, Rachel. You lost this one. Take the L and move on, because seeing you almost cry while in denial here is really getting hard to watch. Your liberal tears are appreciated though.
But we still have no idea as to what Robert Mueller has found. You heard the chairman of the Judiciary Committee there talking about the need to disclose this information and plans to get it. We don't know what Robert Mueller found out in his investigation. And honestly, we don't know how his investigation proceeded and whether it was impeded by any sort of pressure or interference by anyone at any time.
Here's the part where Maddow goes full-blown conspiracy theorist again. She keeps throwing out all these what-ifs and saying, we don't know this, we don't know that, we don't know if the report was written by a Russian actually, or we don't know if the dinosaurs will come back and eat Mueller's report. All this kind of nonsense so Rachel can hold on to hope, I guess. She's still in denial, clearly, and she's faking how scared she is too. That's why her eyes are watering here and she keeps making these cringy jokes about her fishing trip. This is awkward to say the least, and frankly, this kind of off-the-rails show would get a normal news anchor fired on the spot. But instead, MSNBC puts up with Maddow. They encourage her even, because she's the last one holding on to hope about this fake Russia collusion narrative. And frankly, we already know all we need to know here. If there's no indictments, then they didn't find anything illegal going on, so it's bullshit to keep holding on for hope. I really think the Democrats plan on never letting this go. Even if Trump comes out squeaky clean with no indictments and no charges or nothing, which is what it looks like it will be now, well, Democrats will still read into this stupid report and try and pretend something wrong was done when really nothing illegal happened. Russia did not collude, and they did not tamper with our elections. If they did, why would they do it anyway? It's not like getting Trump elected benefited Russia a ton. Perhaps you could say they didn't want Hillary to get elected, but shit, none of us wanted that. And not liking Hillary isn't a crime either, as much as these brain-dead idiots like Rachel Maddow would like it to be.
I'm glad you're back. In other words, the answer is no. Thank you very much. But let me ask you, obviously you've got the same information that we've got, but this letter tonight is directed to the chair and ranking member of a committee on which you serve. Can you just tell us what you are expecting to happen in terms of next steps here?
This report must be released. This isn't just about politics. It's about our democracy, Rachel.
And there you have it. Rachel brings on a silly Democratic senator from Minnesota who says the report must be released for our democracy, not even knowing that this country is a democratic republic. We're not a democracy, you dum-dum. You should know this. You're not only currently a politician, you're also trying to run for president, apparently, even though I've never heard of who you are. And personally, I don't care if this report gets released publicly or not. Either way, Trump's camp didn't collude concludes, so go ahead and let them read all they want. At least they'll stop asking to read it then, but I do suspect that no matter what the report says, these corrupt Democrats are going to try and find a way to spin it and talk about it again for another 2 years. Yes, the Russia collusion narrative and this conspiracy talk is far from over. It's sad too, but it's really all these loser Democrats have to ramble on about. I also love how these two gross Democratic ladies start off their interviews with these cringy over-the-top smiles and, once again, more jokes about Rachel's fake fishing trip. It's so obvious this show and the left are losing their shit here, and they're struggling real hard to keep up with appearances. In the end, Rachel Maddow, a grown-ass, gross-looking old woman, has been caught crying on TV once again like a child. Last time it was over the border crisis, where Rachel was pretending to care about children at the southern border, but she only cares when it helps make her opponents look bad, of course. And now with this Mueller report, even though we already know it's a nothing burger, Rachel and her ditzy guest are still trying to pretend there's something to it when there's really not. Mueller failed and the Russiagate conspiracy failed too. So even though many Democrats are still in denial about it, like Rachel Maddow, they soon will move on to other stages of grief. That's right, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance are what's on the agenda for the American Democrats right now. So I will have to keep you posted on things as we move along here. As of today, by the time this video is released, we could know a lot more about this Mueller report. The full thing could even be released while you're watching this video, so make sure you guys hit the like button here, and next time we could talk more about this bogus, nothing burger Mueller report. Until then, thanks for watching No Bullshit. Leave a comment below this video to tell me what you think, and until next time, stay classy, internet. We'll see y'all again soon.